Hello everyone. Today our group CMLL will present a summary of Chapter 4, E-commerce Security and Payment System. Our group had 4 members, and CMLL is assembled by the first letters of our names. So let's get started. We divide our presentation into 6 parts: the overview about the e-commerce security environment, key threats in this environment, technology solutions, management policies, the payment system, and EBPP, which stand for Electronic Billing Presentment and Payment. So let's move to the first part about the e-commerce security environment. We all know that the internet has facilitated businesses and customers, but it also facilitates cybercrime as well. In fact, cybercrime is growing significantly and dynamically, even though the overall size is unclear. This makes both businesses and customers bear the increasing costs of crimes themselves and additional costs such as security costs, recovery costs, and so on. Data breaches have become key concerns just simply because data means value. Cybercrime steals data and sells it to the market. Therefore, stolen data becomes a robust marketplace. For these reasons, e-commerce security becomes a need. It is multi-layered and must take into account new technology, policy and procedures, and laws and industry standards. This figure captures the big picture of the e-commerce security environment. E-commerce security is a combination of 6 dimensions: integrity, non-repudiation, authenticity, confidentiality, private, and availability. As we have mentioned previously, e-commerce security has become a necessity for transactions and businesses on the internet. But security is not an unmitigated good. It can also be harmful when overused. Too many security methods makes it more difficult to use, so it contradicts with ease of use. In addition, it can affect public safety, as excessive security may hinder official surveillance or investigation. Terrorists can make use of security methods for their activities such as recruitment, training, etc. Coming to the second part, the key threats in e-commerce environment. In this section, we will present 15 common destructive acts that cybercrime uses nowadays and exemplify some specific cases. Denial of service, DOS, and distributed denial of service, DDoS attacks. These acts refer to the situation when hackers flood a website with useless traffic to inundate and overwhelm the network, frequently causing it to shut down and damaging a site's reputation and customer relationships. One of the interesting cases is the Google attack. Recently, in 2020 report, Google admitted that it suffered from the biggest DDoS attack in 2017 from 3 Chinese ISPs. The attack affected thousands of Google IP addresses, lasted for 6 months, and peaked at breathtaking 2.5 Tbps. Potentially unwanted programs, like adware or spyware, is a kind of security threat that arises when programs are secretly installed on your computer or without your consent. Phishing refers to any deceptive online attempt by a third party to obtain confidential information for financial gain. This is a very common trick in Vietnam these days. Hacking and cyber vandalism is a situation when a site is intentionally disrupted, defaced, or even destroyed.
Next is credit card fraud or thief. Credit card fraud or thief is one of the most feared occurrences and one of the main reasons more consumers do not participate in e-commerce. The most common cause of credit card fraud is a lost or stolen card that is used by someone else, followed by employee thief or of customers' numbers and stolen identities. Here's a case study. The challenge is that third-party and synthetic fraud caused huge financial loss, whereas legitimate applications were disrupted, resulting in poor customer experience. In that context, DataVisor, a leading company, delivered AI-powered solution to keep companies and their customers safe from fraud and abuse, have a solution towards this challenge. Next is identity fraud. is the involvement of the unauthorized use of another person's personal data, such as social security, driver's license, and credit card numbers, as well as users' names and passwords for illegal financial benefit. Sniffing is a type of eavesdropping program that monitors information traveling over a network, enabling the hackers to steal proprietary information from anywhere on a network, including the email message, company files, and confidential reports. The threat of sniffing is that confidential or personal information will be made public. And the eighth one is that the poorly designed server and client software. The increase in complexity and size of software programs has contributed in an increase in software flaws or vulnerabilities that hackers can exploit.
For the next three issues, namely social network security, mobile platform security, and cloud security, the case mentioned will be more interesting than the definition because these are all familiar problems that people face every day. Now I will introduce a case relating to the social network security. For long, Facebook has been criticized for its privacy concern. Facebook tentacles straight out across other websites and services into various apps you are using on your phone and to places you physically visit in the real world, especially if you decide to check in on Facebook while you are there. Some of these come with the territories of using Facebook. If you want to take the advantage of its feature, then you have to give up a certain amount of information about yourself. But Facebook has ways of keeping tabs on people who aren't even signed up for the service. Based on user searching patterns on the phone, Facebook can show the ads which are suitable for your needs. Hard to mention any specific solutions for this problem, so this still arises until now.
Next, we will talk about malicious code. Malicious code are viruses, Trojan horses, or any threat to computer integrity. One recent event was the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack. It was from a Russian hacker group that stole 100 gigabytes of data from a Colonial Pipeline ransomware. It forced the IT of it to shut down a server completely. Next up, we have the spoofing, where a hacker uses a fake email address to mispresent themselves or masquerading as someone else. One famous scam is a Nigerian print scam, where a hacker will lure you into giving them money through a fake bank account. Then we have farming, which involves redirecting you into a fake website that looks exactly like the page that you wanted to go in the first place. And lastly, the inside job, where the employee uses their access to store data from the company. Next, we will talk about how technology helps secure internet communication channels and protect networks, servers, and clients. I will first talk about encryption. Encryption is a process of transforming plain text or data into ciphertext that cannot be read by anyone other than the sender and the receiver. There are four key dimensions of e-commerce securities. There's message integrity, non-repudiation, authentication, and confidentiality. There are a variety of different forms of encryption technology currently in use. They include symmetric key cryptography, public key cryptography. Public key cryptography is in digital signatures and hash digest, digital envelope, digital certificates, and public key infrastructure. In addition to encryption, there are several other tools that are used to secure internet channels of communication, including secure socket layer or SSL, transport layer security or TLS, virtual private networks or VPNs, and wireless secure standards such as WPA2.
So moving to this part, the management, policy, business, procedure, and public law appreciates the importance of policy, procedure, and law in creating security. So I will move to the first part, which is security plan. In order to minimize the security threat, e-commerce firms must develop a coherent corporate policy that takes into account the nature of risks, the information access that need protecting, and the procedure and technology required to address the risks, as well as the implementations and auditing mechanisms. So to develop a security plan, we need to go to 5 steps. The first one is to perform a risk assessment, an assessment of risks and point of vulnerability. The second one is to develop a security policy, a set of statements prioritizing the information risks, identifying acceptable risk target, and identifying the mechanism for achieving this target. And for the next point, which is create an implementation plan. A plan that determines how you will translate the level of acceptable risks into a set of tools, technologies, policy, and procedures. Next one is to create a security team, and the final one is to perform a periodic security audit, which is a routine review of access logs and any unusual patterns of activities. So for the second part, law and public policy, public law and active enforcement of cybercrime statutes are also required to both raise the cost of illegal behavior on the internet and the work against the corporate abuse of information. This law have ensured orderly, rational, and fair market. This growing public policy environment is become just as global as e-commerce itself. So in this table 6.4.6 lists the most significant federal e-commerce security legislations and regulation. In here we have 14. So for the next part, which is environment policy and control on encryption. In the table 4.7, which mentioned about the regulatory effort, namely restricted export of strong security system. The second one is the recovery scheme, and the third one is about the lawful access and forces disclosure, and the final one is about the official hacking. And beside, the table mentioned about its impact of this for regulatory effort.
Now we'll move on to the next part, which is e-commerce payment system. The existing payment mechanisms such as cash, credit cards, or debit cards have been able to be adapted to the online environment. In addition, new types of purchasing relationships and new technologies have also created opportunities for the development of the new payment systems. So some examples of the payment systems include: first is the online credit card, the PayPal, the mobile payment system, and the digital cash. Now I will talk about the online credit cards. As you see from the diagram, the first step is that user adds items to the merchant's shopping cart. When the consumer wants to pay for the items in the shopping cart, a secure tunnel through the internet is created using SSL or TLS. During encryption, SSL or TLS secures the session during which credit card information will be sent to the merchant and protects the information from interlopers on the internet. The second step is that SSL does not authenticate either the merchant or the consumer. Transacting parties have to trust one another. Once the consumer credit card information is received by the merchant software contacts the clearinghouse. At the third step, as previously noted, a clearinghouse is a financial intermediary that authenticates credit cards and verifies account balance. The clearinghouse contacts the issue banks to verify the account information. At step 4, once verified, the issue bank credits the account of merchant at the merchant's bank. And at step 5 and 6, the debit to the consumer account is transmitted to the consumer in monthly statement. Now I will talk about the PayPal. When make a payment using PayPal, email the payment to the merchant's PayPal account. The PayPal transfer the amount from the credit or checking account to the merchant bank account. The mobile payment system has the primary enabling technology, NFC primarily enabling technology, whereas consumers can swipe their NFC-equipped home near a merchant reader to pay for purchases. And the last one is digital cash, based on an algorithm that generates unique authenticated tokens representing cash value that can be used in the real world. Now we will move on to the sixth part, which is the features and functionality of EBPP. So more and more companies are choosing to issue statements and bills electronically rather than mailing out paper versions, especially for recurring bills such as utilities, insurance, and subscription. Therefore, an EBPP business model, online banking, biller direct, mobile, and consolidator. So for the online banking model, the advantages of this model is that the convenience for the consumer because the payments are deducted automatically, usually with a notice from a bank or the merchant that their account has been debited. For the biller direct model, this model has an advantage that it allows the merchant to engage with the consumer by sending coupons or rewards, but this is the two-step process, so it's less convenient than online banking model. For the mobile model, the advantage is that the convenience for consumers of paying bills while they're using phone, and also the speed with which the bills can be paid in single step. And for the consolidator model, it allows the consumers to see all the bills at one website or app. But the disadvantages is that the consumers need to check their portals often, and also it increases the time lag between billing and payment. Okay, so this is the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening. If you have any question, please comment below.